Welcome to Pursuit of Perfect System and my review of the Sennheiser HD800 S Anniversary Edition, one of two reference level headphones from Sennheiser. And I think the HD800 S is an exceptional headphone in certain key areas and a little bit less so in others. Well, for me at least. Let's get into it. I want to start this review by getting some key and important things out of the way. The HD800 S Anniversary Edition is a limited special edition which was designed to commemorate 75 years of business for Sennheiser. And if you check the Sennheiser website, you can see that all 750 of this limited edition are now sold. And this particular set I have here is number 10 of 750, and the plaque that you can see on the headband is one of the standout differences of the anniversary edition. And the other very obvious standout thing about this anniversary edition is their color finish, matte gold. Now, each to their own on their color preference, but in the flesh, the matte gold finish is very nice. And I actually think it's quite a nice difference and change from headphones that are black, and more black. Performance-wise, the anniversary edition of the HD800 S is identical to the non-anniversary edition, which is great for me because that means this review is still relevant to you if you are looking at or considering buying a set of HD800 S headphones. And when you look at their price, just a penny short of £1,400. So let's start with the bits that I think that they do great. Hopefully you are familiar with the audiophile term. I'm going to use inverted commas, air. And I would say that the HD800 S are the first and only headphones that I've listened to that present a sound with genuine air to it. So I would actually say that their treble is on the more relaxed and on the more, reserved side of things, and it actually could be a little bit too reserved for some audiophiles. Some audiophiles might want a bit more bite and crispness, and yet the HD800 S are still able to deliver a sense of air to how they present sound. That is because they are crazy smooth and crazy even and crazily balanced from their upper bass all the way through the mid-range and into their treble. And everything is delivered smooth and clean and clear and open, which creates this, creates the space. It allows the space to form really like what I would describe as a bit of a bubble around your head with a slight perception of depth. And that depth aspect to how they present their soundstage is very, very interesting because at times, certain parts of the music will feel like they're coming this way a little bit towards maybe the back of your head, and they can become quite big and full sounding in that regard. And this is very, very clever because that is what then creates the perception of some depth to the soundstage, because the bulk of what you're listening to music-wise is presented slightly forwards here in front of your face and in this kind of arc around your head. So yes, they don't present a depth of sound like good hi-fi speakers can, but we have to think where hi-fi speakers are when we're listening to them compared to headphones which are here. So any headphones that can present a sense of depth from here is damn right exceptional and impressive. In the large part, the vocals and mid-range are presented with some space around them and with some air around them. And for me at least, that is a very unique thing from a pair of headphones, because normally headphones, compress the sound onto you and they put the sound really inside your head. The HD800 S don't do that. They present it, big and open and clear and precise with space and with air. So mid-range and vocals that are presented like that from headphones is bloody impressive. And again, HD800 S are quite exceptional in this regard. And another area or another key thing that stood out to me with the HD800 S is what I'm going to call their dynamic shift ability. Not quite dynamic range, but the dynamic shift ability. Their ability to go from quiet to loud with impact, with speed, with real transient clarity, without any softening or without any blur, without any overhang or without any, I suppose, memory in the drivers. The drivers are able to work really fast and really clear and present this dynamic shift in a really precise, powerful and impactful and impressive way. Now, I noticed this more from watching TV series type content, your typical Netflix stuff, or maybe some movies with the HD800 S than I did with music. And I think that's because of the music that I listen to doesn't feature those types of swings that much. But if you are into classical music where there is a lot of dynamic shifts and swings, then this aspect of how the HD800 S present their sound, I think will be very appealing to you. And there's another key and impressive area that I don't want to overlook or miss out from the HD800S. And that is that they are able to give you what I would call a deep listen type of experience, where you can concentrate and focus and go deep into the music that you're listening to. So you're able to focus on and clearly hear all the different elements of the soundstage or the different layers of the music that you're listening to. And you can clearly hear and track those individual elements if you choose to in an active listen kind of way. But the HD800S don't do that, or they don't deliver that sound in an overly analytical way, which means if you don't want to actively listen, you can just switch off, relax into the music that you're listening to and let it wash over you, which I think is really critical if you are the type of listener who does other things while they listen to music, whether you read a book or flick through websites or whatever it is on your phone. You're not forced into an analytical type of listen. The HD800S are exceptional in their balance of the two of those different types of sound presentations. They sit themselves just nicely on the fence maybe between the two. And that is key and critical because 2, 3 or more plus hours into a listening session with the HD800S, you are suffering zero listening fatigue. And comparing those aspects where they are exceptional to the Audi's LCDX and the Biodynamic DT7070 Pro, there really is no comparison. The Audi's LCDX are disappointing by comparison, and the DT1770 Pro are not bad by comparison considering the price point, but they are still very disappointing when you've listened to and appreciated just how good the HD800S is in those key and critical areas, exceptionally good. But when we start to look at bass and the bass delivery from them, things are a little different. Different audiophiles are naturally going to have different preferences for amount of bass that they enjoy from their music, and I think that's especially true when it comes to headphones. A general rule of thumb that I've experienced anyway is that open back headphones normally trade off bass substantialness and fullness for a more open and free type of sound, whereas closed back headphones generally put the sound on you a little bit more, but they have a more impactful and a substantial bass. And yes, the Sennheiser HD800S are just shy of £1,400, but they're still open back headphones, so they fall very much into this two different type of categories. The bass from the HD800S is very clean, it's very precise, it's very on point, and yeah, it's delivered in a very clean and pretty, note perfect kind of way to a point. But in terms of the overall bass delivery, I found it to sit itself just slightly behind where the vocals are, again, in the overall sound stage. And I think that's probably what allows for very open and clear and type of sound. In contrast to other headphones and other sound presentations that puts the bass in front of the mid-range and the vocals, and then acts as a foundation for the whole soundstage and as a support to the mid-range and vocals, which I think can give mid-range and vocals a more full and more full-bodied sound. The HD800S create this really clear and open sound, a clear and open mid-range as we spoke about, but if you're looking for a more full and full-bodied mid-range of vocals, a more full and full-bodied bass that is a bit more throbby in its nature, then that's not what the HD800S deliver and do. The same thing can be said and true if we compare the bass delivery from the HD800S to the Audi's LCDX or the Beyerdynamic DT1770 Pro. Yes, both of the Audi's and Beyerdynamics sound heavier, they sound congested, they sound thicker, and they don't sound anything like as clear and free and open as the Sennheisers, but they deliver bass with much more substantial tone, fullness, and impact. And you might think that would only be important for dance music or electronic music, but it isn't. Two, I think, great examples where I noticed this. The first one would be Nils from Sun Song, which is, an unusual type of track, but in that there are some bigger, more bass-rich harmonics. I think of some sort of keyboard or some sort of synthesizer. Again, there's some big, more full bass types of harmonics in that song that just isn't there present enough for me from the HD800S, and it is there present enough for me from the Beyerdynamics and from the Audi's LCDX. I think another great example would be Ben Clementine's Winston Churchill's Boy. At the beginning of that song, there is a piano playing, and there's some quite striking piano notes that are played, and there are some quite woody bass harmonics to go with that song. Again, on the Audi's, on the Beyerdynamics, it's heavier and it's congested sounding, but those notes are there. On the HD800S, it's clearer and it's more precise, but those bigger, more full-bodied notes of that piano are just not presented in a full way like they are on the other headphones. I think I need to be clear here of how I explain this. The HD800S deliver a very high quality bass, but it is a leaner bass compared to some other headphones. Definitely leaner compared to closed back headphones, but I don't think it's lean bass compared to open back headphones. There is also something else I think very important here, especially when it comes to bass from headphones, because that is so close to your head. Back to what I said about the HD800S earlier in the review, 2 or 3 plus hours into a listening session with them, that you experience and suffer no listening fatigue. So there are, I think, some positives with headphones to a more leaner bass presentation, which can be why I think a lot of audiophiles like open back headphones. So it boils down to preferences here. You can, I suppose, look to use the HD800S with certain amplification that has a bass lift feature built in, something like the good quality options from HiFi Audio. Those definitely spring to mind. Or if, I suppose, a more full and substantial bass is very important to you, then maybe the closed back version of the 800 headphones from Sennheiser, the HD820, might be a better headphone for you to consider. And for me, and how I like bass, yes, they are slightly more expensive, but the HD820, if they can deliver a more full and substantial bass while still delivering what the 800S do, that open, clear, precise sound, they could be a perfect headphone. Hopefully I'll get to hear those at some point in the near future. The HD800S are not what I would say are the most naturally comfortable set of headphones that I've put on my head, and that is because I think they are designed more to rest on your head as opposed to other headphones like the Audi's, for example, that are designed to be big substantial things on your head that kind of cuddle your head and give you a cuddle with their big thick padding. It's quite an interesting one really, because it is quite a unique experience to have such a light headphone that literally is just delicately trying to rest itself on your head. And I did gradually over the time of this review period get more used to that. One thing I really like with the Sennheiser headphones is the included cable, which is very long and feels, really nice. It feels really high quality. It feels like one that you would buy as an extra or an add-on or as an upgrade. It feels kind of that thick and that well built and that high quality. And probably more important, it doesn't seem to have any of that nasty cable memory that causes, especially long headphone cables to tangle and to become annoying. Yes, there is a little bit of a tug and a little bit of a pull from it, but nothing that would annoy you and bother you, unlike some other focal headphones that I've reviewed and tried that feel like they're trying to pull the headphones from your head. So for my final thoughts of the HD800 S, yes, they are not as bassy as I would like them to be. The bass isn't as full and as substantial as I would personally like. However, that's me. If you are the type of audiophile who's more interested, who focuses more on a headphone that can deliver a very open, a very clean, very clear, spacious, relaxing, engaging type of sound presentation, more than you favor or prefer, more full and heavy hitting type of bass, then as I've said several times throughout this review, the HD800 S are exceptional in being able to do that and to deliver this very clean, detailed, almost electrostatic-like type of sound. And they bridge all of those things in a very inoffensive or unoffensive kind of way. And if you like the aspects that they do well, you definitely won't be disappointed with them. They are really a really lovely thing, and a lovely thing to have on your head, and a lovely way to enjoy and engage in your favorite music. So again, hope you enjoyed this review. I hope you found it useful and helpful. Hit the like button if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm sure you have. I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.